Okay, so we're going to review the Fransgard RV390. First things first, it's meant to be 3.9 metres, it's actually 3.6. I've measured that and double checked that. I suppose the big reason that matters is because we bought the machine predominantly to row into 8-foot Dismore swades, which it won't do on any steep ground at all, where the swade might be wider due to the steepness of the ground. I suppose it definitely takes in two 7-foot Dismore swades, no issue. It's very good at that. The other thing I suppose we had to do to it is this swathe board goes too low when the machine's in its working position. Basically it hits the ground and it will bend, so before we even started to work with it, we cut it here and shortened it, which has done a treat. We shortened it by about 2.5 to 3 inches and it no longer hits the ground, and it's a lot better and hopefully won't get damaged near as easily. Realistically, they probably should have put the swathe board further back in here, so that it actually functions properly, because realistically only the back sort of 8 inches of the swathe board do anything. All this distance up forward does nothing, no grass really hits it worth the talking about. So yeah, definitely could have shortened that from the factory and moved it further back, which would have been useful. One feature it has, I suppose, is the dampener here for the side of hills. It has its pros and cons. It's very good when you're lifting it, whereas traditional Haybob on the side of a hill, when you lift it, might smack against itself in here. It'd hit here quite hard. The dampener does soften that. However, it doesn't maybe allow it to turn corners as easily as it should. The other thing is, I wish these had more adjustment in them. With the lift arms going, they should have more up and down movement in them. There is a bit, but certainly a little bit more would be helpful. I like the idea that they're flared side to side. It really makes it easy to attach the lower arms, which is a really good feature. The other thing is this main pin here definitely could do with a grease nipple. I don't know why it doesn't have a grease nipple on it. It definitely could do it one. There's a lot of pressure on that. The other thing is it probably could have done with a little bit of a toggle that way, although you could argue that a little bit, that might leave it more difficult for smaller tractors to lift it, because then the back end of the machine might dip down. One big thing they got wrong was the fact that the actual height of the lower arms of the ground is very high when the machine's at its lowest in working position. This is a Valtteri 95 and has a very high lift. If you didn't have a high lift, it would be very difficult, I would say, to actually lift this machine high enough to clear swarts. They probably should have moved the headstock back 8 inches so that it'd be lower down, and that might have done the trick to actually allow smaller tractors with a lower lift height to actually lift this machine sufficiently to clear any swathes of grass. So either they should have probably lowered the headstock or moved it further back to bring the machine slightly closer in, which would have helped again lower the actual weight of the machine when you lift it, because there would be less leverage over your lift as well. The gates are quite good. The gates have 3 holes for adjustment. We just really leave them in the lowest one. They're fine. The gates themselves work well. I like the fact that when they're in the working position, they're actually able to lift up, which is a great system. The other thing though is they didn't drill enough holes here for adjustment of the width of the gate, so we drilled 2 additional holes on each side to give us more adjustment. That probably should have been drilled from the factory realistically. We like the fact that there's 2 wheels underneath it. The wheels actually have a grease nipple on them, which is very good as well. They probably could have moved those wheels towards the front of the Haybob reel. That would have meant that when you come up against a bank, I suppose that the reel would lift a little bit quicker. I think the back of the reel is always tilted up anyway. It's the front of the reel that would hit, so that would hit off the ground. So any banks, basically this the bottom of the reel will dig into it if you're not quick at adjusting your lift or your top link, basically. So definitely the wheels could have been a little bit closer to the front. I know they wouldn't be centred, but that wouldn't really matter. And that would have helped her lift a bit quicker. The other thing is, on a traditional Haybob, this would be a round tubing, curved in a circle obviously. On this machine it's a channel iron, and that channel iron does dig into the ground a little bit more. It's definitely stronger, which is good, which is very good. There is 3 holes to adjust the height. We found that for her to lift, she always has to be in the top hole, which allows the reel to be lower to the ground. They probably could have done with an additional hole to let even the reels a wee bit closer to the ground as well. Overall, so yeah, overall quite a good machine. Definitely they could improve in a few things, and I'd say they really should improve on those few things if they want to sell more of these machines and improve on them going forward.